My name is Paul Parnell and today I'll be talking to you about the Z-Man Ned rig. Today we're fishing on the Kennet and Avon Canal, and with perch, the best time of day to catch perch is first light and last light, so sunrise and sunset. So today we got up here exceptionally early to get here for the sunrise. And today I'll be targeting perch on the Kennet and Avon. Yes, yeah, so Strum jig head. All I do is tie that on. Now my knot is go through once, go through twice, put it into a little loop, and then do a little blood knot. So it's a double blood knot effectively, but it's a very strong knot, and that's what you want, especially when you've lost a good few fish due to poor knot quality. So you make sure that is as good as it can be, and then with the tail end, just tack that off. Leave a little bit though, always leave a little bit, because if there is any knot pull, then there's got a little bit of play there. So hopefully you won't need it, but just leave a little tag end. End of day, if the fish is going to notice that, you're not going to catch him anyway. Then get your shroom, get your preferred Ned rig or TRD or hula stick or whatever you want. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try the newest bait, which is try a different colour actually, is the TRD tubes. Now these are the latest in the Ned rig series. I'll talk more of these later on. But basically that is a tube as an old-fashioned tube bait, but also it's just a tube really, but it's a Lastac tube, so it will be used with the Ned rig in conjunction to form a nice little bait. Pake it in the top. Two ways of doing this. The best way to get the best presentation is to hold it against the body like so. Put your thumb there just to make sure you've got your mark. Then just eye up a little dot with the end of the hook. Go through, find your dot, and then just drop it in. And that way you've got a nice presentation, nice tube. So you can see there straight away the Elastac, and that's what is really different about this bait. And again, we'll talk about this more later on, but that is what really separates this from everything else. And the nut there is a little creature bait, little tiny crayfish, shrimp, crazy little thing. It's a Ned rig, very simple, very effective method of catching big perch. So how do we do that? Basically, firstly, all we do is tie on a Ned rig, and secondly, we cast it out. Retrieve styles depend on what the fish are doing. Sometimes the fish like it a bit faster, sometimes the fish like it with no movement at all. So the first thing you need to do is work out what your fish are doing. Once you've worked out how they want it, then you can adapt the method to suit the fishing you're doing. The retrieve I'm starting with is just a slow dragging across the bottom of the canal, just to see if there's anything there. And just dragging it along, just bouncing it around, making a bit of disturbance, but not too much disturbance. What I don't want to do is obviously start spooking the fish, jumping it around too much. I just want to make sure they can see it, and they can see it hopefully as a food item, and then obviously catch fish. When perch fishing, you need to select areas where perch are going to be. Now, perch are structure addicts. They love structure. So basically, you need to find structure which was going to hold perch. So when I've chosen this section of the canal, I've got bridges, bushes, boats, locks. All of these are features in their own right. This might have too many features, so they literally can hide anywhere. Overhanging bushes are a natural perch place to hide because they've got that natural camouflage, the stripy camouflage to sit in the bush, wait for prey fish to come past, also for protection from other fish. Now even big perch will still hold on to the bushes for protection, mainly because obviously birds, otters, mink, whatever, and obviously very big pike. So they will still be under bushes, lying in wait, lying in ambush, and obviously using it as protection. Same as boats. Boats are just a man-made version of an overhanging tree. And obviously hard structure where it goes like a canal side is quite sharp down 3 or 4 feet, and that is kind of a great area to patrol up and down if you're a perch. You do get perch in the middle, but it's rare. It's more rare to get them in the middle than it is on the actual structure because they're holding, waiting, ambush fish, chase fish, and that's it. Canals can be murky places, so sometimes the more action you put into a lure can actually entice the fish to take it because it can it can sense it's there, so it can sense the vibration, the movement in the water. The Ned rig though works on a very subtle kind of platform, and the main reason for using it isn't like a paddle tail. It's more of the fact I'm using it as it's there, and it's just wiggling away, enticing them to take it. Because if it was a paddle tail, I could rip it through in about 2 seconds, and obviously if there's a fish there that wants it, it will take it. Whereas with the Ned rig, one of the main benefits is I can actually leave it in front of the fish, if I know there's fish there especially, and just entice them to take it. And after a while, they will take it. So it just depends really on how the fish want the lure at the end of the day. So this is a little jack. Nicely hooked, luckily. Not the desired species. Then again, a lovely species. And that little jack's been feeding in there, taking the small fry from the back of the canal. Lightly hooked, which is what you want. Always handle these little fish with obviously care, because they are very delicate species. So obviously here it's very thick grass. I've got an unhooking mat with me as well. Not desired species, but a welcome catch. So I put him back, use a net to obviously secure him back over the concrete. Release him, and he goes back to fight another day. So obviously what we found here then, if we've got a lot of structure with the bridge, with the lock cut, and obviously out of here there's a flow. So the flow is obviously bringing in fresh water, well not fresh water, but moving water. That moving water then is trapping on the other side, and this side is trapping obviously all the shrimp, fry, crayfish, and that's where that jack was obviously hanging out. So hopefully there will be some pike, some perch there as well. If you do catch pike, remember this is not the desired technique for catching pike, because I'm not using wire trace because it does hinder the action. Just check though that you've got your leader is good, because that was my knot that broke there, but it's got to check it to make sure there's no nicks into the actual fluorocarbon, because the next fish you will lose not because you've been bitten off, but more so because the nick has obviously given in. So just check your leader, make sure there's no damage to it. you go, another little perch. On the TRD tube. So what I've done is I've switched baits because obviously we were using the TRD turd, just a normal Ned rig turd, and that was picking up a lot of pike. Not a lot of pike, a couple of pike. So what I've done is I've switched to more of a crayfish pattern, which is the TRD Tubesy. Lovely hook up there as well. There you go, another little Kennet and Avon perch on the TRD Tubesy in Junebug. So release him quite quickly. Again, release him with the net just because I want him to go back. Don't chuck him, don't drop him. But yeah, another perch in the Kennet and Avon Canal. So we've got a bit of colour in the water. Now, people usually go colour in the water, right, I must use a bright colour, so bright pink, bright yellow, chartreuse. It's not always true. Not most of the time, the darker the contrast against the darker water is going to stick out more. Now this is Junebug. Junebug is effectively what it is really. It's like a bluey, mottly colour. So it's obviously very dark, but it's also got these little mottly blue bits. Now this has been quite effective for perch, for me recently anyway. Now also, when you've got a bit of colour in the water, you want to get the fish to you. Now I use Procure, full of crayfish in here, so I tend to use a crayfish Procure, sweet craw, and with the tube, you've got like, it's hollow, so I could just dab it in there so that it goes right into the bait. Don't fill it up too much, but just enough. So I've got Procure in there now. And because of the tubes are hollow, they actually release the scent less than they would if you just put it on the outside. Also, it stops your fingers from getting messy because the bait is grouped up in the inside. When the fish hits it, it obviously releases more Procure, which could obviously be more of an insight to take to the bait. But yeah, so let's try a tube now in this darker colour of water. So what I've got here is a natural structure. So obviously you've got your lock cuts, you've got your bridges, different kind of man-made structure. What can be just as important is the natural stuff. So obviously over the years, a tree's fallen in and then the bush has grown off the bank, off the tree. This could be undercut, this could be just as it is and creates ample kind of ambush areas either side of it, but also it's a home for small fish. And perch are a shoaling species, so if there's lots of little perch in there, there'll obviously be different year classes. So just because you've got loads of tiny perch doesn't necessarily mean there's not going to be big perch in there, because it can mean there will be big perch, but just obviously as a pyramid goes up, the less they become. So if that's a home for small fish, there's a good chance it's going to be a home for big fish too. So I'm just standing off of it now. I'm just going to work my way around it, just fishing it into the actual area. Again with the Ned rig, it's not about the retrieve. So it's about getting it as close to that structure as you possibly can and letting it sit there. Almost like bait fishing in respect of I'm waiting for the bite to come from the actual area itself. Sometimes they want it on the retrieve because obviously it's like a distressed crayfish, distressed bait fish moving away from the structure, and it becomes an easy option, an easy target. But 9 times out of 10, they want it in front of them. If it's in front of them and it's there, just wiggling away, looking unprotected, they're going to have it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my little TRD tube as close to the structure as I can. like the desired species. And because I was right with the structure, it was right on there. There you go. That's what we're after. Nice canal, even perch on the tube Z. Treat these again with respect because obviously they are delicate. But you can see there that has obviously taken the bait, taken a TRD tube Z in Junebug. Cracking little perch. This is kind of what the stamp of perch you expect with the Ned rig really. Obviously they get a lot bigger and they do get smaller as well. I'm not saying that you're only going to catch this size perch because that's not going to happen. But you're going to catch good quality fish with the Ned rig. So let's get him back. Happy? So when you cast out the Ned rig, obviously you're fishing straight away. But the most important thing is to let that all settle down and then obviously just reel in the slack until now I'm connected directly to my bait. Obviously what I mean by that is the line's straight to the bait, so I've got a bite indication with the line. Use quite a bright coloured braid. I like this green colour. It means that I can see it all the way through down to the water's edge. And I'm using it just to give me my bite indication really, because obviously that's the most sensitive kind of part to this, the line. It's the first thing that's going to react. Obviously the rod bending over is the last thing because that's obviously then the line's gone taut. So I'm using the line as an indicator of actually what's going on, and it's quite important when fishing these light lures because obviously indication is everything. So if a fish hits it really hard, it's going to come through the line first before the rod. Reeling it in, retrieving it is very much not that important really. It's just working that presentation nice and slowly back towards the bank. So I'm just literally edging it back, just tapping it forward, tap, 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 and seeing if that's going to provoke a strike. Obviously I can see the movement I'm imparting into the lure. Sometimes it's good to kind of watch the line because if it's dancing around too much, you know that that's kind of too much action. So if you want to fish even more of a subtle presentation, just watch the line. Just tighten up until you just feel the lure. There it is there, just feeling the lure now. So I'm just gently tapping that through. What I'm going to do now is try retrieving it very slowly. And every now and again just impart a tiny little action into the lure. This time I'm really fishing it through on a very slow action. There's a few snags there, I'm just pinging those out as they come up. Fish live on snags, so I wouldn't be fishing if I didn't get snagged. Just keeping that line taut, dragging it nice and slowly. Getting plagued by them now. Ned rig, so obviously the pike today want this subtle presentation. Does happen, I've caught quite a few pike doing it. It is not ideal because you're not fishing for pike, but these things happen. I do use quite a large fluorocarbon leader because I don't like losing fish. Preferably I don't like losing big fish, i.e. big perch. So I use kind of a 12, I use an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. And that does buy you some time. Again, soft grass. So this is obviously taking it differently. See, that's taking it down deep as well. So by rights, you shouldn't have really caught that fish, but we did. So I'm just going to unhook that, nice and easy. Just caught this there in the raker. Just dropping down on the soft grass. It is soft grass. As you see, still very wildy. See, that one's definitely been feeding up on whatever's down there. So it looks like there is crayfish down there. Could be some roach as well. But yeah, beautiful little canal pike. Let's put him back. Again, I'm using the net to put him back just because handling pike over concrete is no good if you drop them. Give my hands a little wash on the grass. Again, check your leader for nicks and cracks. So there's a little nick there. I'm just going to change it purely because the next fish could be a PB perch. So the Ned rig, what is the Ned rig? The Ned rig is Elastec plastic from Z-Man, and it uses obviously the toughness and obviously the buoyancy of the actual lure to make the Ned rig. It first started with the Zinker Z. Now the Zinker Z is quite a mainstream bait for Z-Man, and it's been around for a long time. And what they did in the Midwest is they created a cut down version on a stand-up jig head by obviously just cutting that in half and then creating what we now know as the TRD. So Zinker Z was the main starting point. Different types of lures then. Okay, there's 4 different types of Ned rig. There is firstly the Finesse Shad Z, which is this one here. This one is a very slim profile lure. It's obviously a lot longer than any other, than the TRD, and it can be fished in many applications. So it can be fished from drop shot, it can fish shaky head, it can be fished obviously on the Ned rig, which is how I fish it. And what it does is it creates a very slimline bait fish profile. Very good lure for obviously targeting bigger perch in reservoirs and as such. Next we have the Hula Stick. Again, this is quite a large lure, and it's got at the end of it, it's got 4 pieces of extra plastic which kind of are acting like claws. So through the motion of the water, it'll wave through like a tail of a bait fish, or it can also be of a crayfish claw. So again, a very good lure for targeting the bigger fish in your swim. Obviously, the mainstead though is the TRD Finesse, or the Finesse TRD, the turd for short. This is obviously the main bait for using with the Ned rig. It's how it kind of first started, and it's obviously how I've caught a lot of big fish, perch, well over £3 quite regularly on this lure. Many different colours, many different types, so obviously just use the one that suits your fishing practice. And that is the main bait for what I use for my Ned rigging, staple of the Z-Man Ned rig. The newest one in the armoury is the TRD Tube Z. The TRD Tube Z is effectively a tube bait, so it's hollow inside, unlike the rest of them that are all solid Elastec plastic. This is a hollow bait, so that allows more air to obviously get into it, and it obviously, when working it back, that obviously creates kind of an impulse, if you like, or a pulsing throughout the water. Another great carrier for Procure, so obviously you could put Procure in there and it'd be a very unmessy practice. The tubes can be fished in a number of ways as well, but obviously with the Ned rig you need the finesse shroom to do that. Great little bait. Let's talk about the jig heads then. So you've got varying different weights of the jig heads. You've got them from 120, which is the lightest, through to 1/5, which is the heaviest. A lot of people start off with a 110, which is kind of the midway weight. It all depends on where you're fishing with the actual shroom, with the jig head, with the Ned rig. If you're using it on a small canal, which is only 2 foot deep, try and get as little weight as you can. I tend to use the 115 as a staple, or the 120 when I want it just to sink down a lot slower and obviously entice the take. But yeah, a lot of people fish it a lot heavier than they should. The 1.5 I use a lot on the big reservoirs, and I've fished it in up to 30 foot of water quite successfully. The whole principle of the Ned rig isn't to use big weights, big jig heads. It's a very finesse style of fishing. So you use exactly that, finesse gear to catch quality fish. They've also just brought out the micro finesse jig. So effectively, it's the same jig head, but just with a skirt on it. This obviously creates more of an enticing meal. It creates just a bigger object for the bigger fish to hit. Another crayfish kind of pattern, more movement in the water. So it's kind of just adding that third dimension, if you like, to your Ned rig. Again, I've tried these a few times. I've caught well on them. They're a good little bait. More for when you get finicky fish, and you just need the little subtle kind of presentation to go through. So basically, a lot of people ask me, why is this different to what I'm using? Why is the TRD different to the Senko tube, the Senko rig that I've been using for the last God knows how long? Well, the truth is, it's the buoyancy. Now, at the moment, they're all static in the tank, and that's obviously not doing much at all. It's doing a lot more than a non-buoyant bait. A non-buoyant bait now would just be sat on the bottom, just dead. Whereas this here is naturally moving with the current. If you're fishing on the river, it's naturally moving, it's naturally kind of being a part of its environment. This can be deadly because obviously, again, about that not anchoring it down. So I put 110s on here now, which is obviously the staple shroom jig head, and that's pinned them all to the bottom nicely. I'm not saying it wouldn't with a 120, but when you've got a 120 in about 3-4 foot of water, what you're doing is you're getting a lot more takes on the drop because the bait is going through the water column a lot slower. And the whole thing about the Ned rig is fishing it of as slow as you can. Most effective, especially in the colder months, is the dead stick method. So literally cast it out, leave it for 10 seconds, retrieve, leave it for 10 seconds, retrieve, leave it for 10 seconds. That way, you're gonna, if any fish in the area, they're gonna get a chance to see it, they're gonna get a chance to engage it, and you're gonna catch them. And that's the truth. Is basically, when a fish comes up to this, when a perch comes up to this, the Ned rig, first thing he sees is it's doing something different. It's doing something different to the thousands of other lures they've seen. It's standing up, and it's standing up quite natural. So it entices the take. So the take is more so when you're doing nothing. The lure fishes better the little you do expect. It is an effective method of catching the larger fish in a shoal as well, because obviously these are quite large presentations, so they're not 1-inch lures. There's nothing stopping you cutting this down to suit your kind of needs, but you do select the bigger fish in the shoal. So if you are going after bigger fish, it could be more of an enticing method than using just a 2-inch shad or something like that. So very effective method of drawing out the bigger fish. Tapping it now, knocking it back, so very much subtly working the bottom, like a little crayfish would be if he's in distress. Have you ever seen a crayfish? When they get distressed, they put their claws up and they're very defensive. So that's what I'm trying to recreate now, is the crayfish in distress. So if a predator sees it, he's going to look at it and go, he's in distress, he's obviously worried about something, and I'm going to eat him. So that's the idea behind it. TRD perch, this is the colour again that I'm finding preferable in these conditions. Obviously the canal's got a bit of boat traffic through it, so it's even more dirty now than it was when I first started. So they're still managing to see the blue, the June bug colour. So that's obviously producing some little fish, which is good. That was literally dead slow, doing nothing. So literally casting out and dead sticking it. Dead sticking is probably one of the most effective methods when when the fish aren't that active. So during the winter, I would literally be just casting out, twitching it back, and then dead stick it. Literally just hold the bait in situ, and then let the fish come up to it and obviously take the lure. So yeah, dead sticking, another deadly method with the tubes. Nice canal perch. That's what we're after, proper perch. Slip him back. See if we can get another one. Lively little fella. Always treat him with the greatest respect, because it could be the next 3-pounder. So that's it then, Ned rig in a nutshell. Nothing really difficult about it. It's a very straightforward way of fishing. You can look at it however you like. It still is a cast out and retrieve practice. The one thing I would kind of say though is use light. Don't feel that you need to use the heavier weights. If you can use the lightest weight possible, it's going to make it as natural as it can be. And that's what you want. You want the fish to take it confidently. You don't want fish to have any kind of second guesses, because that's when you get half takes, aborted takes. You want them to nail that bait with full confidence. So the lighter the weight, the more natural it's going to sit. Varying different types, so don't be afraid to use them all over the place. Like today on the canal I was using the Tubesy and the TRD, and I was kind of just tossing between the two. There's nothing preventing me using the hula stick and the finesse shad. On the bigger waters, again, they can be great, especially when you've got a 4-inch rule in place, because if you think you can use the finesse shad on a 4-inch lure, it is a 4-inch lure, but obviously to target the perch in the reservoir, which I do quite regularly. And fishing that with wire isn't a problem because of the buoyancy. So yeah, just get out there and enjoy yourself.